Please stand. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everyone. See some new faces out there. This is the November 22nd meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. Let me first introduce everyone here, since we do have some new faces in the group. My far right on the keyboard is Kim Burkert. She's our remote access coordinator. Next to Kim and in front of the screen is John Rovatello, our recording secretary. Next to John is let's see, Mark Tolbert. Want to make sure you're all sitting in the same position. Mark Tolbert, planning board member. Next to Mark is Scott Neal, planning board member. Next to Scott is Amanda Van Lake, planning board member. To my right is Bob LaCourse, vice chairman, planning board member. My name is Chuck Orr. I'm the chairman of the board. We have Shauna Bonchak, a town planner. We also have us with us this evening, Chris Naber, our planning board attorney, and representing our engineering group at MRB is Lance Spraker. Okay, first thing I want to do before I forget is let everybody know we have two exits left and right. Should you have to leave the room for any type of emergency, please use one of those exits. Everybody's been forewarned. Let's go to privilege of the floor. This is part of our agenda with anyone who has something that's not on our agenda that would like to address the planning board on any other issue, be able to get up and speak. Anyone in the group or remote like to address the board on an issue not on our agenda? If not, we'll move into our agenda. We have one new public hearing tonight. So there was a publication of a legal notice in the Daily Messenger that occurred November 20th. Is that correct, John? It was supposed to be the 18th, to wound up in the 20th. So it was published on the 20th, and that is for our public hearing later on in the meeting. All right, we have two continued site plans to review this evening. Both are being represented by Marathon Engineering. I'll let Marathon decide who wants to go first, whether it be the Shepherd Burke application or the Edgemere application. Shepherd Burke? Okay, so we're looking at CPM 22051 Marathon Engineering. Not with Matt tonight, but representing Theodore Shepherd, Lauren Burke, owners of property at 5007, 5009, County Route 16, requesting a single stage site plan approval and a lot line adjustment approval for the construction of a new single family residence. And you've been before us before. And I think there were some issues with definition of a stream and whether a water course on an adjacent property was a stream in our definition. And I think you've had that adjudicated with the ZBA.
Yeah, David Hanlon Architects, representing Ted and Lauren, who are both here tonight, and Pete Gorman sitting in for Matt. So yes, we went to the zoning board last week. We asked for a zoning determination on the definition or the determination of that water course, or whatever you would call it, that was defined or determined not to be a stream at last week's zoning meeting. So as such, it did not require variance. And so that issue has been put to bed. So we're back tonight. I believe, in August, when we went through a pretty thorough review of the plans, and I can't remember exactly where we left it, but you're almost ready to vote, as I remember.
Yes, we were.
And so that was one last issue that we have now resolved. So we're back here again tonight to hopefully continue that vote in a positive way.
Has anything changed on the plans as a result of the ZBA decision?
No.
Nothing.
No, it's
Nothing
still,
as far as
nothing,
the
the
site
plans have not been touched in any way. It's still the same site plan, same rendering, same landscaping, engineering, and all details is the same.
So we're looking at a set of plans last revised July 27th. And you did receive 4 variances back on August 16th.
Yeah.
And you said last week you had that definition of the stream resolved. Guidelines, I think we went through those rather detailed. Bob, you're the one that brought the issue up with the stream, and it was a good catch. Maybe not for the applicant, but no, I'm sorry. It did, at least we got it resolved as to whether it had been done or not. Anything else you had?
I think I missed one meeting where you guys met. I reviewed your plans again. They didn't change at all what I saw. I did have a question or just a statement for the record. The pool that you have there is not going to be drained into the lake
That's correct.
or anything else. For the record, no, it's not. And that was the only thing I had, really. The only question I didn't have answered.
Okay. Anyone else on the board?
I don't believe so. Not for me.
Just double backing on some of the third-party reviews. The ECB had make sure we protect the trees. There was a discussion of forest pavers, but I think that was resolved at that meeting in August. They also had suggested a collection area down in the driveway, and again, I think that was discussed at some length at our last time we met on this issue. We got no comments from Kevin Mulvaney, no comments from the fire department, our town historian, who I would ask the applicants to maybe contact before they tear down the two houses.
Yes, the historian would like to, with your permission, document, which I
They've been
think,
there.
yeah, oh, they've already been there,
They were here last week.
great,
Okay,
great, thank you for letting them do that.
find anything historic?
Pardon?
They find anything historic?
Well, so it's clearly an old building, but
Okay.
I'm gonna provide her some more data. Bigger pictures.
DOH and Tyler on the septic system, I think. Are you any further along with that as far as?
It's still in process.
Okay. Phosphorus notes probably there. You'll need a permit from the county highway department or public works department for the new driveway. I think we also determined there's no NRI features on the property. Is everyone comfortable with the shoreline guidelines as proposed and the landscaping proposed by the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all that being said, I think we're ready to move on. This is a type 2 seeker. And I will accept the motion to bundle the type 2 seeker with the single stage site plan approval.
I'll make a motion to accept both type 2, determined as a type 2, and I believe we have 11.
Right, the 11th one, most of them are standard. The 11th one that was added in was a lot line adjustment. And that plan is to be signed and filed prior to signatures on the final site plan.
With the 11 conditions stated above.
Okay, you got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I guess since we're tearing down 2 houses and building 1, there's no park and rec issue here. So it'd be, even though it's a new house, it's essentially a net loss of a property, so at home. So I guess that's not required. I forgot to ask you, Lance, were you comfortable with
Yeah, I remember these comments from August, obviously the plans haven't been revised yet, they're going through a process with the ZBA. Most of our comments were notes and pretty minor in nature. I don't think I have anything significant that can't be addressed on the revised plans.
Chuck, do we have a copy of the stream determination?
From the ZBA?
I
What
can't,
was the question?
I haven't seen a document on the stream determination. I haven't seen it.
It's not finalized yet, we haven't, it's not signed by Chip yet,
But we do have it,
we have a draft.
and it states that it's not a stream.
I was there when they made that determination. Donna was there when they made that determination. I think you have enough information. Okay, to swear to it, but that's what they decided.
Okay. All right, we have a motion a second. Any further discussions? If not, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Oh, sorry.
good luck, though. Sorry it took so long.
What was that?
Good things take time, right? All right,
Mark, that was a good point, a good question, should have. That being said, I was there, Sean.
Yeah,
I swear to it, I'm good with it.
No, yeah.
I saw water in the creek.
yeah, we,
Which end? Oh, yeah. That's, I was going.
yeah, good point of information, though. If a ZBA affects a decision we have subsequent to that hearing, we should have a copy of the order files.
Yes, it's just the turnaround time is
1 week,
difficult, yeah, to get, so
Okay,
we ultimately, they will be in the file, it's just sometimes we can't get them signed.
It's fair to say that this determination will happen before planning board, the next application. You know what I mean? So the determination initially was, it was a stream, then it came back and it wasn't a stream, so prior in application form, it should be determined that it is not a stream then?
Well, no,
Before it
that
comes to-
determination was not made by staff, that was the vote of the planning board.
Or the zoning.
Right.
The zoning board,
So
if I was,
staff determined that it was a stream. The zoning board overturned that decision.
Right.
Without much objection. Yeah.
so, and future zoning law determinations, my analysis or my observations, I can say with certainty wouldn't change. To me, that's still, to staff, it's still a stream.
and eventually it'll be class C stream, it will not be the 6 months.
Right, eventually we're gonna change the code to get that 6-month statute out of there because it's problematic.
Oh, yeah, just for clarification, it is a stream. It's just not a stream that carries water 6 months of the
Out
year,
of the year.
making it subject to that
Right.
particular zoning statute.
Okay. All righty.
So we had two CPN numbers on that,
We should have,
51
yeah.
and 76.
I'll be out of the stream.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
a little bit, that was probably in the zoning.
Is that?
That's what I'm thinking. Zoning.
I missed
What
that.
was it
There's two
called?
CPN numbers, there's 51 and 76.
On the previous application.
One is the initial application, which you reviewed tonight, and the other was the stream variance. That, the stream variance had its own CPN.
Does that impact anything that we just approved?
No. That's why we kept it separate,
Yeah, we were acting strictly on the site.
correct?
Okay, speaking of CPN numbers, let's move on to 22062 Marathon Engineering, representing Edgemere Development Corporation, Pittsford, New York, representing John Volpe, owner of property at a yet to be determined address of Parkside Drive. Edgemere and Mr. Volpe would like to apply the form-based code, its use sub area, and they're requesting this evening a final site plan approval for a proposed 48-unit multi-family development of a 4-story building of 1.5 plus or minus acres with a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, community space, parking, and associated site improvements. And Dan, welcome back.
Hello, sir.
How are we making out? I guess,
I think we're in good shape. We were here a couple of weeks ago and there was some conversation that there wasn't really anything major outstanding. We had some comments from MRB that we sent our responses back. May or may not be still dotting some i's and crossing t's depending on your thoughts on our responses, but it's very minor technical in nature. Went to the town board last night and got their vote for approval. So much like the previous applicant, we're hoping for a positive vote tonight.
okay. So this has run the course of our form-based code procedures. And I'm sure the board doesn't need to have the members refreshed. It started out PRC, then it came here as a sketch plan. We determined that at that stage, it was not in compliance, that there was an issue with which the applicant admitted that there was an issue, that they were taking exception to the transparency as well as the BTZ.
Yep, we'll do so.
So you sought relief from that and you got it on October the 18th from the zoning hearing board. Or zoning board of adjustment. Like it Pennsylvania.
We're not a commonwealth.
We did not have or from. So then came back here beginning of this month. We gave it our blessing again to go to the town board. The town board last night gave it blessing that it would move on to a site plan approval or site plan review. And that's why we're here this evening. Okay. So I guess one of the issues that hung over this application was the parking and adequate parking. And you resolved that by providing us with a review of various parking or various apartment complexes that have both the senior and non-senior tenants. And the number of registered vehicles in each one of those, and the percentage of cars, the residents of cars, and all to prove that the 42 spaces would appear to be adequate.
Right. And supplemented with an agreement with the neighbor to use 10 of their spaces should demand be higher than the anticipated.
Okay, that's my one issue. Where are those spaces located?
And where's the agreement?
We have the agreement.
What was in the letter?
It's under file. Well, it's a letter from.
Saying they're looking for.
Letter of understanding from the neighbor saying that they have plenty of room in their lot and they would let us use up to 10 spaces. I don't know that they've designated which spaces.
That's one question I had is which spaces and how do you gain access from your neighbor to your property?
So again, they haven't designated which spaces specifically. We strongly feel that we'll never need those spaces, but we haven't provided a specific. We can work with them to do a walking path between ours and theirs if that's a condition of approval. That's an easy thing to do.
Personally, I think that would be, I would not want to walk a long distance away from I used to live in an apartment and I would not want to come home to not apartment and then have to walk all the way down the streets and everything back to the state. So if I had access to those spots and hopefully they'd be close to your position, that would be better.
That project is at the bottom of this page, and I'll talk loud so it goes away from the microphone. They have spaces in front of their building and they have spaces behind their building. We would use those. Those are the ones that they have the least use anyways. And then we would be glad to again work with them on a walking trail between our property and theirs, provide that direct access.
That'd be a good condition.
Yes.
So essentially, these are land, the equivalent of land bank parking spaces. If it turns out you've got overflow problems, then you'll activate that, but would there be a problem with recording something, with having trolley station record a shared use agreement? You know, as land bank parking, because maybe the next owner doesn't feel so friendly.
Sure. I don't imagine there'd be an issue with that. Again, as we've spoken here the last 2 weeks, we're about 25% over what our research tells us we're gonna need at this building. So we really feel like this is the belt and suspenders of another belt. But I think we can, it's fair to talk to the owners about that agreement. I can't imagine that would be a major issue.
I thought where you were going, Chris, I think in the UBC code, under shared parking, it requires a joint agreement.
Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah, maybe that's what you were thinking of. So I think at the very least, we would have a condition that the joint agreement be prepared and executed. That a delineation of how residents would move to and from this property to the adjacent property. And
Location spaces.
designate which spaces.
Or at least show where those 10 offsite spaces are. If you may, I have a question. Your notes say there is 6 land bank parking. Now, in my mind, land banking is future parking to be built only upon needed. But I know that we just referenced off-site parking as land bank parking as well. So there was reference that you have 10 off-site land bank or off-site parking. And then your notes in the plan say there's 6 land bank parking spaces. Can you identify where those 6 land bank parking spaces are?
Yeah, because I don't, we have them. Can you identify where the note is?
The note was somewhere on the top of the sheet, I thought, or maybe it was in the responses. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I wish Matt was here with us tonight, but I don't think we land banked any spaces on the site.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't see any on the site.
Okay.
That was why I asked the question. So I think you have what, 42 proposed parking spaces on site, right? You have a total of 58, 56 bedrooms,
Sounds right.
48 units, right? So I had calculated your 42 plus the 10, that was 52. And then with the 6, they got you 58, which that would put you over the number of bedrooms that you're proposing, 56, if in fact there were 6 land bank parking spaces, but I just couldn't figure out where they were.
Which we're not looking at, one per bedroom, so to speak. We're
Sure.
specifically looking at the similar use cases that we provided in the letter and seeing that consistently, it's not one per occupant, it's not one per bedroom. It's actually substantially less than we're showing per occupant or apartment or bedroom. So, you know, we recognize that that doesn't sound right when you first hear it, which is why we did that.
It's on the site. 6 bank
So it's a no, correct?
parking spaces up at the top under project statistics. The last, the parking spaces, NA 48, and then in parentheses, 6 banked. Right, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
That needs to be corrected.
Wait, so existing parking is 48, but proposed parking is 48,
Proposed parking is
and you got 48 units.
No,
No.
they're proposing
No.
42 parking spaces, 6 of which are.
Yeah, that is a
Oh.
typo that we're gonna need to correct.
Yeah.
It's 42 spaces. I don't think.
40 plus 10.
Can you take a look at the plan? I understand your studies. We believe that's what your studies say, but in the worst case, possible case scenario, you get a bunch of people with two cars. And where the heck are they gonna park? Is there anywhere, any theoretical land rate parking on this site? Is there anywhere you could turn into parking space?
There's really no. I mean,
Yeah,
like this is our agreement with the fire department, fire truck ladder access to the roof. This is the same thing, ladder access to the roof. This is stormwater management over here, with some grading issues. I mean, you could start coming in here, but we're also trying to screen the parking to meet the form-based code. And again, I completely understand the question. I've had dozens of projects in my over 10 years here, over 20 years doing affordable housing, and we've often had to land bank parking, we've often had to build more than we need. We never need it. I've never had an affordable housing project that has needed even a spot per apartment, just never. And so that's why we look at these studies and say, this is what the use is. Whether it's a rural site, a downtown site, anything in between, and you can look at a lot of people, they have no issue giving us 10 spots because they're not using them. They had to build them and they're not using them. And they banked on top of what they built.
yeah, I remember that. actually.
So it's,
I remember that fight actually, or that discussion, would some say, this discussion, and then say, that's ridiculous, but sure.
And this is on the bus route, someplace you said?
correct.
Where's that stop?
Stop
With
right
stop.
here, and it runs right along the street.
Can I recommend to the board that find the traffic or this parking information be added to findings?
Our study.
Yeah, and submitted a study that the board reviewed and found to be credible. If that's.
In your parking analysis refers to workforce housing. I'm not familiar with that term. What is workforce?
Workforce housing is essentially, and please correct me when I'm wrong here, but it's essentially affordable housing at the higher end of the defined affordable income brackets. And so our affordable housing is always state defined at certain incomes as a percentage of the area median income. And the workforce housing tends to be at the 100%, 80%, 60% range of the area median income. Families that at a certain size are making a certain percent of the area median income based on the census data. And that's typically countywide, as I understand it. And so these residents in this project are not at the very low income brackets or the extremely low. They're middle income, they're first responders, they're teachers, they're middle managers, they're people making incomes that are between, again, 60 or 80% to 100% of the area median income and are still priced out of market rate housing.
So how do you determine the rent for the people?
Again, it's state defined. It is defined as a given percentage of their income, which they have to prove is within that income bracket. No more than 30%.
So their rent is dependent on their income or 60% of the median?
Your name and address.
Good evening, Charlie Oster, Edgemere Development. Nice to be here this evening. To answer your question, tenants are not, the way rents are sized is the rent has to be 30% or less of their income.
Of tenant
Of a
specific
tenant-specific
income,
income. Yes,
so they come, but the tenant can't make less than 60% of the area median.
no, they can't make more than that. So there's a limit on the amount of income that they
You said
can
you were
make.
between 60 and 80.
Trust me,
What happens
same
if
with
someone
me,
comes in and they make minimum wage,
So there's.
then you're paying?
Yeah, so there's different tiers, right? So there's people who earn between 60 and 80% of the area median income. There's units set aside for them. There's people who earn between 50 and 60% of area median income, and there's units set aside for them.
Sort of just
Well,
tapping.
maybe
their-
tonight,
their
that's what it
expertise,
was,
'cause I think we're gonna see that.
trying to get an idea how many cars it's.
Put simply, when
Yeah.
we talk about workforce housing, you basically have a job, but you can't afford a market rate unit. That's how we look at it.
Okay.
And the projects they looked at for this study were similar income bracket projects. Again, a similar population. They didn't go to
Some were
the
seniors.
lowest income properties to compare to this one. They didn't go to market rate properties to compare to this one. They looked at some seniors, some not, to get that distinction. And we provided if you aggregate them, here's a number. If you break out the seniors, because that's not who we're targeting, you're.
Well, to get off the parking issue, is the board comfortable if, as long as the off-site spaces are designated and have a means of access to them, we can accept the 42 spaces on the site. And we just have those suspenders. Should we need them with the 10 spaces off the site? Okay. so
I'm
the
comfortable
parking.
with that,
All right,
yes.
fine. Any other issues? Shall we talk about? You did a sanitary sewer analysis for the county, right? I know there was concern about whether there was adequate capacity in that sewer line in Parkside.
I don't know.
They haven't responded yet.
I believe that's still ongoing.
Yeah.
We've done everything we need to do with the county, with utility, and we're waiting to hear back. And so that will, of course, have to come out satisfactory before we get any of our permits. I believe it was less a capacity issue and more of a pitch issue. There was-
Yeah, it's very flat for a 8-10-inch main. You covered that, Lance, in your conditions.
You cover that as
Yes.
condition 4.
Oh, yeah, the fire station,
Yeah.
C of those. We want to leave the CO. Should we maybe get that sooner than? From the county. Number 4 on your site. plan.
I kept it similar to what we have done in the past in terms of allowing them to provide that prior to issuance of the CWO, same with our septic systems and so on. But I can understand the board's
So you
concern.
might have a building and
Yeah.
know what it's.
So you want to make it prior to issuance of a building permit or?
Oh, yeah. You good? So give it the board?
Yes.
Just to be clear, the town does have allowances for site activity, just you wouldn't be able to build the building itself until such time that that's provided.
Chris Jensen had no comments, Jim Fletcher had no comments. MRB did a detailed letter and you did reply to it on the 16th. Did everyone see that response? You feel comfortable?
Yeah, the responses appear to identify that they're willing to address our comments. We started to go through, I spent most time looking at the parking and that area, and so at this point, I haven't finished the review, but I'm comfortable.
Yeah, it seemed,
We recognize part of the process is we may go back and forth once or twice, but none of the issues alarmed us.
No.
They're all technical.
yeah, we usually leave any open-ended things as a condition. That have to be resolved before signing plans, but you know, gives you some time to do it. Nothing from the fire department.
No, we had review with them very, very early.
Okay, as far as the height of the building.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
it
was, yeah.
So this fire, okay. Where's the nearest hydrant?
It's right out front. Yeah, it's right there.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I think there's another one too.
Probably both corners of the property.
They're close.
I knew there was two that went that far.
The school district had no response, just typical. The amenity space that you're proposing. What do you propose to have on that benches?
Yeah, sure.
table?
We have two spaces. Closest to the building entrance, we have an outdoor hardscape area, which is right next to the interview room. That's gonna be kind of a passive area with some tables, some umbrellas, a couple of benches out there. It's, sit out in the southern sun and maybe have a little outdoor gathering. On the right side here, we've got a combination of an open lawn where you can do some bocce, a little frisbee, a little catch, sit out and sun yourself. There's some benches, some trees, sit in the shade. So this, again, it's not a huge site, but with Blue Heron Park just down the street, we figured we could supplement what's there. And
Does the board feel we should actually have a definition as to what those amenities are, or are they comfortable with sort of just leaving it open? Well, if we have it on the record, John, you have it on the record what was described as the improvements or what's proposed? You got that? Okay. Does the board feel we have to do anything more than have it on the record, or do you want to see it on the plan?
No, I don't need to see it on the plan. No.
All right. Landscaping. Again, I'm thinking some of the things on the checklist that I referred to Sean today, that under the form-based code that we should review. And so landscaping is, I guess, in conformance.
Yeah,
The
everything, yeah.
species, I mean, the code is specific to
specific.
species and sizes and all that, so.
yeah, there was a couple of questions from Lance's group that we've responded to. And, again, making sure we're documenting what we selected properly.
I think the last conversation the board had, I think, was location of some of those proposed trees, and there's some limitations on the site too, the easements, and location of building fronting the roadway, so I think they were proposing to put them where they felt they could. That was really the question of the board, whether or not that was amenable to you guys.
Matt Tomlinson and Dan walked through every single part of that checklist, that entire checklist, so since it was our first
The next
time.
one was lighting, so I
Yeah,
assume you did lighting too.
We,
So the
yes.
cut sheets you provided are in conformance with our lighting requirements for the FBC?
Yes.
Do you think as we look at the landscape plan and how it impacts the additional parking, there'll need to be, you'll have to have adjustments for that? When you're considering the additional parking,
You mean the walkway?
Walkway.
From
Wherever
the
that
outside
is.
part,
whatever's
Right, we
proposed.
have
set
some
outside.
planting along here, we're gonna need to make an opening in it to get a walking path through, but it's gonna be one or two plants that will move / eliminate, depending on what makes sense.
You might need to add a light. I don't know, I don't recall where the lighting is on the parking lot, but
That's
you might need to either add a light or shift that light so that we have some pedestrian light in that area. Obviously, we'll handle that as part of our review, but that's to be determined based on what their access is.
Yeah, in your one area there, if you look at the landscape plan where you just gestured to the path, you've got a larger tree there that's going to be impacted by that as well. I would just suggest that whatever that proposed scenario is going to be, that we see it on the plans.
Prior to permit or prior to,
you're talking about the access and the park, that, yeah.
Yeah, that'll come in before signature.
Yep, I
as your
think we're gonna
final
make
draft.
that a condition. That the joint agreement, the delineation of the access and the defined parking on the whole property be shown.
If we're looking at lighting on that, does there need to be a separate agreement tied to that utility of the lighting?
I guess in my mind, I'm thinking the lights will just be shifted so that they're still showing on their property, but in the vicinity of where that walkway is. Just so that we don't have a dark spot
Just ensuring we have the.
with trees and vegetation blocking it. If there's additional lighting that you guys feel is needed, that's obviously your call, but at this point, I think if they were to shift, yeah, I think if they shift the parking lot in a manner with some of that lower vegetation, I don't think it would be an issue. Paul has lighting on their property as well.
Okay, my last question is, how do you get the trash and recycling from the building to the dumpster? Is it staff carries it out? Do residents carry it out? How's it getting from here?
Do you know how you're gonna manage that yet?
Yeah, so there's gonna be a trash room on every floor that residents will have to bring their garbage and their recycling to. And then the maintenance staff on the property, once a week, will bring those outside to the exterior dumpster.
Okay, so it won't be residents
Correct.
accessing the dumpsters, okay. Speaking of staff, how big a staff would be on the site?
Would be one full-time property manager, and one full-time maintenance staff. And when we're leasing up the project, we usually have a part-time person just to help when you've got, hundreds of applications coming in and, you have to keep them all organized and all that stuff. And it would just be the two full-time employees.
Okay,
Would they live on property?
They would not,
so they'll each have a car.
presumably, yeah.
During the day?
Which is the same as all the other properties we study.
Okay.
Their moms drop them off.
Those
We're taking
cars were not, those studies were not looking at license plates assigned to tenants, it's how many cars are being used. Right, so it's staff, it's visitors, it's.
So you got two staff spaces.
Did they take into consideration all the Amazon Prime drivers?
Well, the nice thing about having the requirement for the fire department access is you got a nice long curb right there that they can park on and people can go around as they need to, so. And then, yes, inside we have a package delivery room, because that's reality now.
Where's the main entrance? Right there by the
Right where
amenity
the
space,
Hard state.
where there's not, where the Amazon truck would block people in.
30 feet down that way.
So did we hone in, is it 4 handicap spots or 2?
We have two, which is, again, what is required.
No, I know we were talking about 4, I think, back in August.
Right.
Okay, so 2 handicap, EV, we're talking about,
We have 2 EV spots as well, which are right next to the accessible.
It's one EV station that supports 2 spaces, correct?
Yeah,
I did think you said you could go up to 4 handicap spots if needed.
at the moment, if we go up to 4, we're gonna lose a parking spot. We could potentially push and squeeze things out to pave one more spot if we need to.
I think that's what you said was, you have 2, but you could go up to 4 if you need.
It would effectively be like pushing this over to create a spot, creating 2 more spots here and losing one, to struggle.
So then, I guess my suggestion to the board is if that is an option that you guys want to keep, maybe we can just show that 1 parking space here so that it's on the plans, it's approved as a parking space. And then that way, in the future, if you want to do that, that move is accommodated for and the parking counts that the board has approved tonight work.
So we show 43,
Correct.
which is the 1 buffer.
You can call it land bank, it doesn't have to be built
Got
out,
it,
it's
okay.
only built on need.
Perfect.
Now that land bank note can get reduced from 6 to 1.
all righty, let's move along, folks. Anybody have anything else to ask for the applicant regarding the plan?
It's solar on top, right?
Correct.
What size system?
Don't have a system size designed yet. Projects stretch out so long that if we got a system size right now, by the time we got funding from the state and built it, it would be a meaningless design. So from a use standpoint, we're hoping to do the vast majority of the house loads, which would be, community spaces, the office, the heating within the corridors. between half and all of the house loads, and then the apartment loads, their individual meters, so we can't come all in the same system. We're working likely with Green Spark, but we haven't settled on it.
Yeah, the EV system covers about 75% of the house load for electricity.
Very good.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, related to that on your part one seeker, question 9 says, does the proposed action meet or exceed state energy code requirements? And you answered yes. And then you said, if the proposed action will exceed the requirements, describe design features and technologies. If you're exceeding it, you might as well pat yourself in the back and state that you're gonna be in a lead building and you're gonna use solar, or I think that should maybe just be added to that part one, if that's the case, if you're gonna exceed it. Now, if you're just gonna meet it, yes is the correct answer, but if you're gonna exceed it, I think you should give yourself some kudos.
Do that.
Okay. Before we get into the seeker, the old archaeological jumped up at us, I think, again. I'm just thinking a question about, let me see, SHPA, it came up in the part one, question 12B, archaeological sites. Do we need something from?
Yeah, I couldn't recall if you guys, as part of this resubmission, have provided that no impact letter from SHPA or not. It's just something to document. Ultimately, that would be required to be provided to the town prior to issuance of building permits. I apologize if I missed any conditions. I couldn't recall if you had submitted it this quickly.
We should already have that. It's.
I thought you did. I thought
Yeah,
Matt
it's not
Johnson
required as
mentioned
part
it.
of our funding application,
Yeah,
but.
I just lost track of it. And I
So
don't
you
recall.
think you have a letter
Yes, sir.
addressing that from SHPA? So I guess just supply that.
Possible we turn it in.
I thought that was
I
really
thought
odd.
you did too.
Yeah,
Because I don't have it in my letter.
Okay. If nobody has anything more to talk about regarding this application, we certainly talked about it enough. I think it'll be a nice project, and that being said, why don't we move on to the seeker is unlisted action. We have part one from the applicant, parts 2 and 3 filled out by Lance. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with seeker resolution unlisted action for 22-062.
Second. Motion second for discussion on the seeker. Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Site plan approval.
I'll make a motion for site plan approval on resolution CPN 22-062. Site plan approval for Parkside Drive and a form-based code, mixed use suburbia.
Just to clarify, this is a final site plan approval resolution, is that accurate?
that is accurate.
Okay.
And Lance, there was coming. No?
So, yeah, we made one correction to number 4, so that it was in lieu of C of O, we had building permit. And then we added 10, 11, 12, and 13, 10 being the off-site parking spaces to be shown on the plans. 11 was the means of safe pedestrian access from the shared parking area to the proposed site are to be shown on the plans. The shared agreement between the two properties regarding the off-site parking area is to be submitted to the town for review and approval by the town attorney. And then 13 was that the plans would be revised to identify the one land bank parking space near the entrance to Parkside Drive.
So that revision would include revising the parking count to 42 and removing the 6 land bank.
Yeah, I have it.
That's in your note. And then I would suggest maybe signage will require a separate review and approval based on the way the form-based code makes it really clear that it's separate.
I assume it's gonna be a monument sign.
Yeah, they got it. They got
They
it.
have the
shown,
location.
The location.
You don't have
the
to-
actual sign.
That would not come.
Lance on number 12 had to do with the access.
The shared, I had
Yeah,
12
I
as the
just
shared
put something
agreement.
in there, the delineation of the access, and I think there's concern about lighting, make sure.
Yeah,
adequate
I
lighting
added
for
it
that
down so
access.
that The plans would be updated to depict the location of the 10 off-site parking spaces and any associated lighting that may be required as discussed at tonight's board meeting. I'll tweak that comment, but that's, and it'll be, and MRB has not yet completed another review. That's gonna be, I have that note to be added to that review as well.
And just for clarification, when you change the parking lots, parking spaces, I think it's now 43 of one lane.
Yeah, it's 43 plus the 1 lane bank.
42 plus 42 plus
Yeah,
one.
right, that's what
Oh, the way we wrote that one, I think it was, yeah,
43, one of which.
yeah.
So the condition is essentially make the parking right.
Exactly.
Make it work.
Make Lance happy.
This point of reference, I think on both the seeker and the site plan, that approval date is 11/11. It's a revision date on the.
Yeah, but yes, they just submitted it. Thank you.
Okay.
We need a second, no second.
I'll second,
Okay,
but it's,
My motion.
first and second.
Mark pointed out, it's
Bob made a motion.
11:16, right, not
Scott made
11:11.
a,
Site
Wait,
plan.
hang on, let's just make sure this is correct.
Yeah, 11:16 according to.
I'll look at the plans when I get back down.
okay, we have a motion and second.
I
Any
didn't get, I'm sorry.
Scott motion.
Bob and Scott.
Got it.
further discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Good luck. Looking forward to the project.
Appreciate it. I want
All right, now we move back
Yeah.
to,
Please sign this with me for this one.
move back. Let's get rid of that. We're back to our new public hearing for the evening. It's for Aaron Henny, care of Henny Ammunition LLC, 1820 on Rissa Road, Canandaigua, representing Kara Henny, owner of property at 1820 on Rissa Road, requesting a special use permit for the operation of an ammunition manufacturing company out of his basement, which calls for a smokeless outdoor magazine building for the storage of smokeless powder. Sales are made on site, no customers are permitted at the home. I will now open the hearing. And Aaron?
Yes.
Good to have you here this evening. You want to tell us a little bit about what you want to do?
So the building was existing, at the time I did not know I needed this from the town. So I enclosed it, the state improved it. It's actually been there 4 times already and inspected the building. And then that's when I got a letter from you guys saying I needed to do this. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
A description of what you're going to do and what approvals you have from other agencies to allow you to do it.
No problem. So, yeah, I'm FFL approved and state approved. The building is inspected by the state, which I have my license by the state for the building. The building is just storing smokeless powder. When I need it, I go out and get what I need, bring it into the basement, load what I need to load, then whatever powder is left goes back out to the building. And whatever powder is used up, by state law, I have to keep track of what I used and what's in the building. So, and then the containers get recycled.
Okay. Well, I guess the obvious question will be how explosive, I hate to use that word, but what kind of.
Yeah, the state doesn't even like using that word.
Okay.
Because it's not explosive at all.
Okay.
You could literally throw a match in the building and all you're gonna do is get a bunch of colored sparks and the building's gonna light on fire. That's it. It's not gonna explode at all. If anybody here has a garage that's attached to their house with a can of gas in it, that's more explosive than this building is. That's how safe it is. It's very safe.
I think at PRC, you said you store it in the shed, on
Yes.
the outside.
Yep.
But then you assemble it or you put it into the shells in your basement.
In the basement, yep, all the reloading equipment's in the basement.
Okay, so once it goes into the shell, or in the process of putting it in the shell, how what's that involved? And what do you do with the shells once they're loaded?
So once it's, so putting it into the shell, let me take one step at a time here for you. Putting it into the shell, basically there's a hopper on the machine that you dump it into. And then when you pull the handle, it automatically dumps how much it needs into the casing. From there, you set the bullet on it. Now you got a round. Once I'm done with all that caliber, whatever caliber I'm working on, so if it's 30-06, 270, whatever, it gets boxed, gets marked, and then it goes in a cabinet ready for the next gun show, or if someone calls me looking for a hammer.
Okay, and that cabinet is locked.
Yes, and the room is completely locked. My wife doesn't even have a key to the room.
And it's stored in the basement.
Yes. Yeah, and by state law, they don't care how, you can literally fill your house full of ammo, they don't care. Yeah,
And then the transfer occurs off-site at a gun show or?
yep, gun show, yep.
Did anybody ever call you and say, hey, do you have any 6.5s or anything like that?
Yep, I have people call me all the time, and I either meet them at their house, or I have a friend that's located in Phelps that has a gunsmithing business that's allowed to sell ammo too. And I drop it off there and they pick it up from there.
I
So
understand
whatever's closer to them.
You have letters from your neighbors already approving this, saying no problems, right?
Yeah, so the two closest neighbors to me, I talked to them and they sent letters saying they're okay with it. And when I talked to the state about having to do it, because the state only allows you to have 15 pounds of powder in your house at a time by state law. So that's what.
In your house or in the shed?
In your house. Anybody, any residential house is allowed 15 pounds of powder in the house at any time.
Are you restricted in the shed at all?
So with the shed, it goes by the distance from the houses. So from where it sits, my one neighbor is actually the closest house to it. And by the distance what the state setback is, I'm allowed 2,000 pounds in the building. And at any time, I'm about 500. I don't ever see me at 1,000 pounds. So.
Does the state come out and verify that you're complying with their setbacks?
Yes, they came out to check the setback, because unless I pick the building up, which is set in the ground, then the building's never gonna move. So yes, before they approved it, yes, they come out, they checked the setbacks and everything to approve what I'm allowed in the building.
And how is that locked? The magazine, you wanna tell us about that?
Yeah, so by state law, which they reference off on the federal law, which for the door, it has to have what they call a 3-point locking system, which I'm way over, which I'll get into. So a 3-point locking system to the federal means that it has to have 3 different bolts on the door that are not connected that lock. My door has 3 solid pins on the back hinge side. And then there's 2 on the top, 8 down the opening side, and 1 on the bottom. And so there's no way, it'd be easier to cut through the wall than get to the door. Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And then in the house, you also have a system
Yep, so the whole
into
house,
the garage. No, but you have nothing else in the garage, in the basement, right? Other than your room?
yep,
Yeah.
so half of the garage is finished, the other half is gonna be finished later, which is gonna be my office and
Right.
stuff. So there's nothing else down in the basement, but the reloading business. The door into the basement, is locked at all times. It's a fireproof door. The room is all fireproofed. It has fireproof insulation in the ceilings and in the wall. There's smoke alarm in the room. There's a smoke CO detector outside the room. Right outside the door, which is where the stairs are going upstairs. The door has a deadbolt lock plus like a regular knob lock. Anything else?
Didn't you also have something on the ceiling of the basement?
Yeah, so the ceiling
In case
is
there's a fire, the bullets don't go up through. Did you
Yeah.
say that?
nothing with the bullets.
Okay,
The ceiling is fire rated.
okay.
And that, so it's
Got it.
sheetrock fire rated and it's the wool insulation. The floor is 8 inches thick and it's the whole 8 inches that I stuck full of the full the wall insulation fire board.
And you've also been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, I've
I
been
think
doing
that's
this.
important. to know.
I've been doing this over 30 years. I started reloading in my father's reloading room when I was 4, loading shotgun shells. My whole family. My father's side of the family is all of his brothers have been in reloading. One of them's in actually sorry, trying to think of what it's called. Competition, mile shots, and then he's been on the US team, and that's so he's big into it. I've learned a lot from him too. So I've been around it my whole life.
Just to piggyback on Lance's question, because I had a similar question. So the inspection is done at the beginning.
Yes,
How about annual inspections
quarterly.
quarterly? And
The
they
state
come out and
comes
they
in
say how much
quarterly.
power you have and they
Yep.
inspect, okay.
Yep, the state comes in quarterly, counts how much you've used. And then, if it's off, they write you up. And then, I think, I remember asking, I think you have to have 3 write-ups and you get a fine. And then, and stuff like that. If you have too many, they can actually take your permit away from you.
That's very regulated.
So,
No, you said they could come at any time. They could come in the middle of the night. They could, right, they could come in
Yep.
to your house at any point.
the state
Or
is
is that
not.
ATF?
The ATF is
Yeah.
allowed to, which is, yeah, under my FFL, they can show up at any time and ask to see something, I have to show it. Yep. The state usually gives me 24 hours notice, and then, but I'm not allowed to deny them either, because they could take away my permit.
In the protection of the magazine, it typically talks of needing to have some type of prevention so vehicles can't hit it or anything along those lines. There's nothing around it that can cause something to fall. Is berming or anything required?
No. No. So it's when you're through the state, when you're setting up for the permit, they want to know how close it is to the road, how close it is to a railroad tracks, which I'm not.
Yeah.
If I was too close to the road, they would deny the permit. And if I was close enough, they would probably make me do something, but it's literally in my backyard. And then you'd probably get stuck getting
Yeah, it's
to it
quite a
before
ways
you
back
got
there.
to it. There's this camera on the outside of the building. There's cameras all around the outside of my house. There's cameras in the reloading room. Yeah.
The chief of the city fire department, did you see his email at all, Aaron?
No, I have not.
Have you gotten any further?
We didn't get anything additional from chief. He
Just
was
for the
gonna-
record, this is from Frank.
Magnero.
I've not seen anything on this yet. I have to do research what the ATF requirements and New York State DHS requirements are for storage quantities and parameters, plus what magazine distances should be from the occupied structures and roadways. I think that's some of the things you've been talking
Yeah,
about.
which I actually have it on my phone. I keep it on my phone all the time to show people.
Smokeless powder and similar propellants are relatively stable when stored correctly, not confined, exposed to shock, static electricity, or fire. These Class B explosives can deflagrate easily under normal conditions, and there's a potential for a mass detonation hazard if the product becomes confined.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, oh,
So smokeless powder, so everybody knows.
is that a class B explosive?
So it's, what is it? I honestly don't even know what they classify it under. They don't even classify it under explosive because they don't even like calling it explosive. I think class B is gunpowder, is actually black powder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What was it?
He continues, overall, it should be safe to properly handled and stored.
Yep.
We need a site map with magazine location and distances from any structure and the road.
What I gave to the town.
Then he said it should be similar regulations to young explosives, but let me get back to you.
Yes, we can get that.
Doesn't have that.
So smokeless powder, to get back to that, smokeless powder, like I said, you could throw a match in the can and you'll get a bunch of colored sparks and a quick flame. The way it works is it has to be under pressure, so it has to be in a hard case, sealed with a spark to get to it, for it to ignite, to build up pressure to move something. Unlike black powder is what basically dynamite's made out of. And that where you could take a little teaspoon and throw a match at it and it'll explode.
Okay.
So
Just, so it's fair to say all the white power, all the right rounds today are all with this powder.
yes, it's all smokeless powder.
All smoky powder.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything weird. It's just.
No, absolutely not. It's all common stuff that you can buy in the store. It's just custom ammo. So it's precision loaded ammunition for the target shooter, long range shooter, hunting, stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you have OSHA inspections?
Nope, because I'm the only employee, so I don't have to do that.
I did, and trying to track down some information on that, OSHA does publish a distance chart. And at 2,000 pounds, it states that it needs 49 feet if I'm not an expert at this, but if it's a barricaded magazine, then it would ask for 49 feet at that point.
Yeah, I know it's on the map that I don't have that with me. Because I know it goes by yards and then you gotta figure it out into feet.
What's
That's
the
an OSHA
closest structure other than your own?
The closest is my neighbor.
And how far is that?
Neighbor's
It's,
garage.
yep, the neighbor's garage, the corner of the garage, and it's right around, it's right near that distance, it's 48 feet or something. Yeah, do you guys have that? Can you pull
We
it up
have a
on?
neighbor plan. I'm
Okay.
not sure it's there, but we got it.
'Cause I know I gave you a copy of the actual,
Neighbor's
Yeah.
garage. is 115, is that right? 35 feet to the property line, 115 feet to the edge of the neighbor's garage.
yeah,
I could pass that down.
Which is his property, but this is his.
Yeah, that's the magazine.
and that building was existing, like I said, on there, that's why it's on the map.
222 feet off the road. Okay. Let's open it up to anybody in the audience or virtual land that would like to address the board regarding this application. Is there anyone?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, hi Aaron, this is John Zablisky. I'm your neighbor across the property line. I think we've waved over the back fence there, but I was going to come over and talk to you about this, just to find out more about it. But I just got the letter Saturday night, saw it, and with work and everything. So I guess I have a couple of questions. My property is actually the one that butts up closest to Aaron's magazine. Our house is 500 feet away on Town Line Road, but our property backs up there, and we have a walking path that we regularly circulate around through there. So I'll admit, Aaron, I'm not an expert on ammunition or guns or any of that stuff. I've done a little bit of reading. I missed when you said earlier how many pounds you were going to store, and I just wondered what that was.
At any given time, there'll be about 500 in the building.
Didn't hear that number.
500
please?
pounds.
Oh, 500 pounds, okay.
And how's it stored?
Uh,
Sacks, cans?
In the
Barrels?
original containers. It's, so it's basic, so it's either in 1 pound containers or 8 pound containers, depends on how you buy it at the time.
What are the containers made
They're
of?
plastic.
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I just wondered, because we're walking back there on a regular basis. In fact, you know, back to the time when that building was John Ballard's golf gazebo, we used to do driving out and back there under that little gazebo thing. But I just wondered if there's any special precautions that we should take, Aaron, if I should, you know, avoid walking back there and lighting up a cigarette on my property or anything like that.
Well, I wouldn't recommend throwing the cigarette butt live in your yard in the first place, because you'll probably light your yard on fire. But, no, you can literally walk around the building, pound on the building. You're not gonna do anything to it.
Yeah.
It's totally safe.
Well, our lot, this is Teresa, and our lot is just on the other side of there. There is a line of trees, but I just wanted to make absolutely sure, because we will be the people, we are the neighbors. I guess you didn't, because we didn't know you, we didn't have a letter or whatever. But we are the neighbors, like I say, that will be closest to the magazine. And we just want to make sure, number one, everything was safe. So it sounds like you give us some good explanations, Aaron.
Yep.
And two other couple of things is, you live in the house, right?
Yes, I do, with
great.
my wife, and I got a newborn that's only 2 months old and a 17-month. So if it was unsafe, I wouldn't be doing it around them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back on, this is a question more back, I guess, for the planning board, agriculture residential. Does this fits in with the agriculture residential zoning for purpose of the district encouraging normal agricultural operations and land uses, maintaining the open rural character and so on, gone through that type of thing? Natural resources, no open burning.
Teresa, yeah, this is being considered for a special use permit as a major home occupation. And that's why we're here this evening. And it is permitted, assuming it gets approval from this board, for a special use permit in that district.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, Aaron, what my wife is trying to get at is just what you've said sounds, you've described it very well, and I trust your experience and your knowledge and everything. Of course, one of the concerns when you see a neighbor start a business next door is you wonder how big it's going to get. And so just wanted some reassurance that it's not actually going to turn into a retail outlet or a shooting range, or, you know, what you're doing now sounds perfectly fine and safe, but just concerned about the future, I guess.
Right, because it's like, how does that impact to the board? How does that impact the value of our property? We hope to be here, God willing, for another 25, 30 years. But if we were to sell, would potential buyers be concerned that this lovely acre and a half backs up to an ammunition manufacturer? So that's just a question I throw out there as a concern.
I'm not sure if we can answer that.
No, you don't have to. It's just a rhetorical question.
Okay.
That's just throw it out there.
I will say what Aaron testifies this evening that he's going to do, though it would have been nice to have this all in writing, though we do have a somewhat of a statement of operations, but it's far less than what we heard this evening. That he cannot do anything more than what he said this evening, anything above and beyond, such as turning into a shooting range, having someone come to the house to pick up product, that would be in violation of the special use permit. And he would be so cited or told to cease and desist. So
Okay.
if you're comfortable with what he proposed this evening, that's all we're considering. Anything above and beyond that would be subject to a future review.
Well, also wouldn't be permitted.
Okay, Aaron, I just want to say, like I say, we would have stopped over. I didn't mean to ask questions here, but I think what the gentleman just said from the planning board is what I was waiting to hear, is just that it won't turn into some sort of full-fledged business, but no, Aaron is. Yeah,
Sorry.
and Aaron has been a good neighbor since he's been there. We don't even know he's back there, and it sounds like you know what you're doing and everything is fine. And so that's really all we wanted to check on, was the zoning requirements and future implications.
Right. Sounds like things will be kept safe back there so we can continue to walk and use our property back there for the gardening and walking as well. So thank you for your time.
Yep, and if your house was closer to it, I would have talked to you before I did it. Just your house went back far enough where I didn't have to fight law.
We understand. We understand. We just use all that acre and a half.
We can talk over the fence later on.
So much.
Literally.
I just have a quick question. So special use permit
Thanks, John and Teresa, for coming.
is also can be reviewed annually, or there's further reviews to make sure that
Every
the
3 years.
merits
It's
and
every
apply.
three.
Every
years.
3 years. Okay.
Town goes and inspects it every, how many?
3 years. 3 years.
Hypothetically, every 3 years.
And upon complaint. So
Right.
if there's a lot of explosions, the Zabitskis are gonna call Shauna's gonna go out there
Yeah.
and say, hey, this building is on fire.
Fire hazard, yeah.
Get back in, first order of business, come back for review of your.
So it is right. The special use permit is checked.
They are
Yes,
checked,
yes,
yes,
okay.
absolutely.
And easily revocable for non-compliance.
Appreciate why the board has in the past been very specific about getting what as the applicant proposing to do and making very specific conditions, because that's what we hold them to. That way, there's no expansion of the project in any manner that wouldn't otherwise require them to come back before you to get that approval.
I would make the point, this gentleman, Mr. Henning stated that it would be 500 pounds. In your letter, you said up to 2,500 now.
That's what I'm allowed, but any given time that's at the time, that's what's in there is 500. I put what I'm allowed to put in there on the record.
It says I only see me storing up to 2,000 pounds in the future.
Yeah.
I think you're allowed up to 5,000.
Okay.
So is the board comfortable? That's what it says.
Yeah.
By code, I can store up to 5,000 pounds. At any given time, I have 500 to 600 pounds, and I only see storing up to 2,000 pounds in the future. If the board's comfortable with that.
Yes, Mr. Henning, a question on the container that they're in. You said they're approximately 8 pounds or so. How big of a?
Yeah, so 1 pound is literally about the size of her cup. It's a 1 pound container.
Okay.
And an 8 pound container is about the size of a milk jug.
Okay, so you've got how many of those do you go through in a given period?
It all depends on business.
Sure,
Like,
like normal.
Last week I went through about 20 pounds.
Oh, okay, so
So-
a couple of boxes a week, type
Yeah.
of thing, is what it sounds
And
like.
on average, like I haven't had a powder delivery in 3 months. So it's not like I have powder delivery every day or every week.
And how do you dispose of those empty containers?
Yep, they're plastic, so they're recyclable.
Does that just go in the normal trash? What happens?
So yeah, you can, I don't throw them in the trash, they're recyclable. You can take them to the normal trash, but I take them to is it, forget the name of the place, it's in Massett. Alcohol, thank you. Thank you, I'm bad with names. I have an account with them. And I do a lot of scrapping and stuff, like all the bad brass that I can't use, everything gets recycled. There's hardly any garbage at all. Most of my garbage is paper towels, wiping things up.
Makes sense.
So as far as deliveries to your property with product, so you said about every 3 months, the powder gets
For powder,
for
yes.
powder.
It's been 3 months since I had a powder.
How about shells and other accessory?
On average, I would say about once a week.
It comes UPS.
UPS or FedEx.
So
It's not commercial.
probably less than my wife gets.
Yes, probably.
Oh, my neighbors.
You probably see Amazon, like you guys said earlier, you probably see Amazon more than.
Okay, so it's not like a tractor trailer to back it up.
Nope.
All righty, anybody else have any Questions?
Do you intend to do
Oh,
signage?
anybody else
Sorry.
have any questions out in TV land? Not, nobody here?
Just quickly, do you intend to do signage?
No,
For this?
because it's being by town law, being it's in my house, I'm not allowed to. And I'm not planning on customers in my house, so
I guess we have to go through the major occupation.
Yeah, it's under our findings that I gave to you guys. Let me see if I can reference it here. So basically, it is the major home occupation must be fairly transparent and unobstructive. The standard fairly transparent and unobtrusive requires a non-residential character of the home occupation shall now be apparent to the planning board.
Excuse me, Lance.
Yes, sir.
Any of the board members have an exception to what he's reading? If we agree with everything, you don't have to say agree. Let's just go through it.
All right, so move forward. Planning board shall consider the following standards when making this determination. Noise. The board must find that the noise produced by the major home occupation is not likely to create any potentially significant adverse impact upon the adjacent neighborhood, and the type of noise and at times of day of the noise generation are not inconsistent with the primary residential use of the premises and the adjacent neighborhood. Okay, moving on. Pedestrian traffic. The board must find that the major home occupation is not likely to produce more pedestrian traffic to and from said premises than will exist in the case of the residence without a major home occupation, and that the timing of such traffic is not inconsistent with the traffic likely to be generated by the primary residential use. Third one, vehicle traffic. The board must find that the major home occupation is not likely to produce significantly more vehicle traffic to and from the said premises than what would exist in the case of the residence without a major home occupation, and the timing of such traffic is not inconsistent with the primary residential use. Parking. The board must find that the major home occupation does not create a need for more than 3 additional off-street parking spaces. In addition, such off-street parking spaces shall not be provided on the lot in such a manner as to create the backing of vehicles on the public highway. Furthermore, such off-street parking spaces shall be adequately landscaped as to provide a visual buffer between the parking spaces and adjacent properties or public rights of way. Lighting. The board must find that the major home occupation does not create light trespass onto adjacent properties or public right of ways, which would be which would be inconsistent with the town's lighting standards. Aesthetics. If any change is proposed to the exterior of the building, the board must find that the change will not materially alter a characteristic architectural feature of the building, such as fascia, window style, or roof line. Trash. The board must find that the major home occupation does not create additional waste products that are not properly contained within receptacles normally associated with the principal residential use of the premises. Where there is found to be additional waste products associated with a major home occupation that cannot be stored within such receptacles, there must be a provision for adequately securing such waste products within a screened and landscaped facility. Such a facility shall be located behind the principal dwelling unit or behind the accessory structure used for the major home occupation, must effectively screen from adjacent properties and the public right of way. Exterior display. The board must find that the major home occupation does not involve the exterior display of storage of goods, materials, equipment, or inventory. Those are the findings.
No objection.
Keep compliant.
Yes.
Okay, so we've gone through the standards for a major home occupation. Anything else anyone has? If not, I think we're ready to move on. This is a type 2 seeker. Oh, let me close the hearing. Okay, and we'll move on to deliberations. It's a type 2 seeker. I'll make a motion that we realize they're resolved this type 2 action, and therefore no further action is required by the board regarding seeker. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Special use permit. We are not doing a site plan, right?
There was a waiver. So one of the whereas is the applicant has requested a waiver from providing a professionally prepared site plan. And then I assumed the board said the waiver was granted.
That waiver,
For the non-professional, prepared site. Because special use permit, I guess you could
I thought it
waive.
was
So if you waive the
intrinsically-
site plan,
Right,
you're still.
No, you're not waiving, you can't, I don't think you can waive the site plan.
The last meeting I was at, you guys asked me to sign.
No, I
Yeah,
think
we
you're
got it.
waiving.
No, you're waiving.
You're
yeah,
not,
no, you're good.
you're fine, you're fine.
No, we're just,
I think. No, you have still have to do,
So you still have a site plan resolution that reads exactly what the special use permit, so
Exactly.
it's the same conditions, but.
we do
basic,
that with every special use permit.
every single special use permit, because right in the first paragraph of 260 or 220-35, it says. Special use permits require site plan approval. See, Bob's nodding.
I knew Chris was gonna bring it up. That's why I asked.
I was perfectly willing
No.
to ignore it until
So
you guys
even
started
major-
talking about it.
No,
Even
your
major
call.
home occupations.
We gotta do a site plan.
With no site changes.
With no-
to approve the site plan.
I always said, how can you approve a site plan when you don't have a plan, but
You do have a plan and you're gonna grant the waiver for professionally prepared site plan.
We don't always get one though.
I don't think, I don't
Right,
agree with
like,
that.
The D'Agostino or whatever his name is.
We don't always
the
have
Look
a-
person-
at a
Right.
picture of a house.
He had a picture of his barn.
This is my house. That's where I'm doing the work. No changes.
You haven't been
That's,
doing.
I'm not arguing with you because you know what
Yeah.
me, I'm just.
Right, we're not the
Well,
experts.
I'm just sort of double checking, now that you guys are all.
I thought it was
My-
intrinsically included
With the
with
waiver.
the special use
my
permit, with
concern
the
is,
waiver.
the waiver request in the file was, just said existing building, it didn't say anything about waiver from
Yeah.
professional site plan.
I agree with that, Chuck. The town board should,
So we should get
An actual waiver.
actual waiver from a professional site plan. That should be a condition.
We have that, he fixed it.
Yes.
Yeah, we have
Oh,
a new,
yeah.
we have a new,
Well, I'm only going by what's in the file.
yeah, yeah. So that,
That was the original way I sent it, and they sent it back saying.
I can- I'm
yeah,
sure.
we got the second one, so he was good to go. Well, unless.
Okay, what do we?
no, I'm good. I'm
You're good?
absolutely good, just do it how you'd like.
It's.
It's voted and ended.
I'm playing solitaire.
Are you swearing to that?
No, I'm not seeing readily the paragraph I thought was in here. I don't think it has any impact because they're literally not proposing any site plan relevant issues.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for a special
Thank you,
use permit.
I so moved.
Oh, Mark made that motion?
Oh, Mark already made it,
No, he
okay.
didn't.
Oh,
Question. Oh, Mark's got a question.
Just wanted to, did the site plan go to the fire department?
Yes, I saw. it in
No,
there.
not
Magnus
not the plan that
Was provided to the
Henning
board
gave us,
that showed the distance.
right, that came
Which is
after.
perfect.
So I was gonna suggest that we send everything over to Frank. Once it's approved.
I would just
For his
suggest that we
records.
add that as a condition because he states that he hasn't seen anything yet. That's the last communication that we saw.
He saw the aerial with the, he saw an aerial with a shed, but not the distances.
I don't want 100 people showing up, but the chief is more than welcome to come and look at it.
So all materials as presented to the board at tonight's meeting are to be forwarded to the fire chief for his review.
Perfect.
Mhm.
And then I am happy to make that motion.
Okay.
11 conditions.
Squeeze the motion out of it. All right, need a second.
Second.
Okay, motion from Mark, second from Bob. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good luck, Aaron.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
I can vote in this. Right.
All right, we're on to new site plans. Why is everybody left in the room is here? First one being CPN 22071, Mark's Engineering. I don't see Logan here, but Mark's Engineering representing J&T Properties, Canada LLC, Jared Chuck Potter, owner property at 5290 North Street. Mr. Potter is requesting a lot line adjustment and a single stage site plan approval, construction of a 1,400 square foot addition to the back of an existing building on the site and stormwater mitigation to the increased pervious surface to be created by the addition. The addition will not exceed 30% of the maximum building coverage required by the TIN. Okay, do we have someone here?
No, there is nobody here from Mark. I don't see.
Nobody from Marks. Well, since we, since our attorney usually recommends that we not take any action unless there's an applicant here.
That would be my recommendation.
Sure.
They may
Yeah.
show up in a few minutes.
Okay, we can move on to the next one. If not, remind me at the end to do a continuance. All right, next one's BME Associates, Chair Baron Byler, representing the National and Perkins, owners of property at 6240 Fisher Hill Road, requesting a single state site plan approval, construction of a new single-family dwelling home on site private wastewater treatment system, private well, and parcel is about 20 acres plus or minus. Wow.
Actually, no.
You're not.
I am not. My name is Andrew Spencer,
Andrew Spencer,
and I
okay,
am with BME Associates.
filling in for
I'm filling in for Aaron.
Aaron, okay.
He's off on Thanksgiving vacation.
good for
And with me this evening are the property owners with any questions that I might not be able to answer from the board. But what we are looking for is a combined site plan approval for a single family home on a 20-acre parcel of land within the AR district. The 2-acre lot size minimum. With 20 acres worth of land, we're positioning a house on, just for your fear of knowledge, the property slopes basically from north to the south. This is the high portion of the property. It slopes down to Fisher Hill Road, which is down at the base here. We positioned the home right below the existing wooded area on that property. And there was one of the questions that came up to PRC.
Andrew, could you move the easel maybe out in front here?
Sir?
My tired eyes. Ah,
I kind of-
now I see. Okay.
And now I can kind of point to it. Can everybody hear me?
Sure.
Okay. So we positioned the single family home here. There is existing wooded area that extends from the rear of the structure, basically all the way back to the north. We position it in a fashion that we will not have to disturb any of those trees. They want to have the house back up against the woods to look out the back door to see the wooded area. So it's actually moved down a little bit further away from the true edge of the woods to allow for any grading that can occur. We are proposing a driveway coming up the Fisher Hill Road. That driveway does enter into the site at an existing curb cut that is there today. And there's exercising the right to bring a driveway up. We do have a pull-off area for emergency vehicles. We also have a turnaround up near the house itself for emergency vehicles as well. It's a very standard 2-story structure, but it will be buried halfway into the hillside, halfway out of the hillside. We did provide some elevations for the board to take a look at. Standard fare 2.5 car garage that will be up there. 2 cars will be in the garage and then the other half for storage of equipment up on the site. We did review the comments from the PRC meeting and provided some written response to those. The reason I brought this exhibit was to show where that wooded area was and what the intent was in preserving all of the trees in the area. We also received a comment letter from MRB, which we did respond to. Fortunately, it was a little bit late, but we got it to everybody today. But the few comments that we saw in there that will need just a slight amount of more information is sizing of a culvert if it is necessary, as well as a retaining wall detail. We want to coordinate with the architect whether or not those retaining walls will actually be part of the foundation of the home or whether or not they will be standalone. And then that information can be provided on the final plan for planning board signature. The remainder of the comments were very technical in nature and minor in nature, a lot of notes to get revised on the plans, which we will do so and submit back for final review and final signature. We will have a private well system for water like everybody else out in this area because there is no public water. We are also proposing a private wastewater system. This is a shallow trench system based upon the soil strata that we have. There was some coordination going back between New York State Department of Health, ourselves and the town. This wastewater treatment system would just need to be approved by the town of Canandaigua. It does not need any other agency approvals, and that was coordinated and verified through our coordination with the Department of Health.
That would be Chris Jensen.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
So Tyler, that's not in the watershed.
right.
This is, yes, it's outside of the Canandaigua Lake watershed, so it doesn't require that review. Not to belabor this much more than it is. I will answer any questions that the board may have.
Just checking some of the boxes here. The only NRI feature was the trees. I think Andrew said that they will be preserved. in
Right,
the
they're
back.
not disturbing, and we'd
That
ask
was-
them to
that was a
show.
concern of the ECB. Talked about the septic system. Is that essentially your limits of disturbance?
Yes, that green area is the limits of grading on the site. The septic system is down in this lower area here. And what you see here is just representation of the grading that needs to occur on the driveway.
And we confirmed this is out of the scenic view shed that's going on.
It is far enough away.
No, it's elevated, but it's far enough. The ECB also, there's a suggestion that maybe you would consider geothermal as a potential way of, that's something the folks have thought about as far as their method of heat.
We did the investigation at this time. We decided
Didn't-
to go forward with it. Solar is still an option for us with geothermal.
Oh, still an option, okay. Just a suggestion, that was, again, the suggestion of the Environmental Conservation Board. And landscaping was also an issue they had brought up. I realize that it's not near the lake, so we don't get into, shoreline guidelines and view shed from the lake too much, but I think you had a landscape plan. We did not, okay, maybe that's the issue then.
There was no landscape plan that was proposed. What's right on the site today is a meadow. It's a fallow field situation. So there's an awful lot of native grasses and native herbaceous materials throughout. And they have a series of path networks that they use. And I believe the intent is to have a minimum amount of lawn immediately around the home, perhaps having some foundation plantings in key locations and front entrance ways and things of that nature, but to then allow the remainder of the land to act as its own. I've actually talked them into trying to do that.
Sure.
Because from a pollinator standpoint, from a wildlife standpoint, allowing that native material to be there is a positive in that aspect. It's also a positive, you don't have to mow it.
Yeah.
You don't have the maintenance and the headaches of it. So.
Board, anything else?
No issues, no questions.
Okay, well, is anybody in the audience? Is there anyone?
There's no one.
No one? Okay, no one here?
No one is left.
Okay, if not, let's move on. We have a type 2 seeker application here. Type 2 applies to this property. And if someone is willing to make a motion to bundle the type 2 with this single stage site plan approval, we'll do it that way.
I'll make a motion to bundle for 22-075, the seeker type 2 resolution and the single stage site plan approval with the 9 conditions as listed. I don't believe we've added any additional. So 9 very standard conditions.
Yeah, the reason why there's 9 for site plans is there's some of them that are CEO comments, town engineer comments, those type of things.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second. What's the latest date on your plan? Was it revised at all? Was it still October 3rd?
It's still the
Still that
October,
plan?
it's still the October date, that is
That's what we
correct.
have in the resolution. Okay, a motion and a second. Further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Andrew.
I love my geos.
I'm gonna keep your brain on that, or I feel like I'm gonna bite the bullet this Friday. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Okay. What are we going to?
What are we, who did you go through?
You're here for.
Geo. Okay.
My name is Mark Mueller, I'm the architect for the project, Anthony Cole.
Oh, okay.
Are we on the right one?
Yes,
It looked like our plans, so.
That's your plan, but I think there was some
Continuing it.
information we were waiting for. And we were going to continue discussion of that. But since you're good enough to sit and wait tonight, if you want to maybe tell us a little bit about the project, knowing that we will not be taking any actual probably continue on it.
Yes, he didn't tell me anything. He
Well,
just
there must have
called me
been a
this
last,
afternoon and said, I can't be there tonight.
well,
Could you fill in?"
I spoke with Rocco this morning very early and
Oh.
told him it would be continued.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
so there must have been a lack of communication. After Mark was at the site, saw some water issues, I called Rocco, let him know not only that there was some issues happening on site that the homeowner should look at, but secondly, that we were gonna be continuing this resolution tonight. So there was.
Oh, I didn't have to come.
Didn't have to come, and I'm sorry that I
Would've
didn't
missed
know
out.
what application you were here for. You can charge it back to Rocco.
I'll be talking.
Definitely.
And
Did you enjoy sitting here watching this?
Yeah,
this is, you know what? I get to do this quite often, and it's always a ball. Okay,
All
so I won't take your time, and I know there's other people waiting. I wish.
Sorry that,
Yeah,
I'm sorry it wasn't communicated to you from the.
apparently it wasn't
engineer.
communicated within their office. If you talk to Rocco and
Oh,
Anthony
that's
called me.
shocking.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you, hopefully, if this information we're looking for is submitted between now and our next meeting on the 13th of December. They have you here or maybe Anthony or Rocco?
One of them will be here.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good day.
So for the record, CPN 2202. Excuse me, wrong one.
That's
Oh,
what
we're
I'm saying.
077.
077.
Oh, 077, yep. We need a continuation resolution. Just for the record, do you want to tell us what information we're looking for, Shawna, from the applicant? We're missing.
Yes.
On the house.
Was that on the resolution?
Gotta see the house.
No, but I have no, so
Yeah, there's quite a few.
there is a steep slope map that was provided, and so we were asking for a letter of justification, kind of like your shoreline guidelines, some letter that just says, this is how we're planning to address the steep slope law. We wanted the map to be updated because it was a very good map, but it didn't show the proposed building. It only showed the existing building. So technically, we want to see the proposed building and how it's impacted on that steep slope map. Because they defined the percentages of the steep slope,
Right.
so that would help us identify the percentage that we're looking at. And then the other thought was, because of the steepness of the slope and how the house is gonna be right against it, and then there's a drainage behind it, we were thinking that a profile of that, like a visual profile of the slope with the house, how it would look, what it's gonna be behind it, what's the distance. So a profile is something that they can provide us to help us better understand how that comes together. That was the additional information that we talked about.
That's what we talked about, and to
Besides-
elaborate, 220-8, which is our steep slope ordinance, is very, very specific about. And that there needs to be justification and rationale behind how each reg is really gonna be adhered to, and that was missing. And that's something that we asked the applicant, well, Venezia for, and we'll haven't received, but we'll need to receive in order for this board to do their, and for MRB to do their evaluation. Some of those slopes out there are what, 100%? I mean,
100%.
they're,
The
you've got
ones that are
100%
directly against
slopes.
the house.
Yeah,
We were also waiting for recommendation from ECB. And the ECB didn't have enough information to draw any conclusions, and they asked the applicant to come back in December, right?
they have, well, they wanna look at it again.
Yeah, they
with
want to
more
look at it again in
information.
December.
They need the architectural plans to determine the number of bedrooms to make the determination on
Right.
whether or not the facility is adequately sized to handle
Yeah.
or not. They won't make that call until they have the plans that tell them how many actual bedrooms are being proposed. That's according to the notes that we received from Canandaigua Watershed. They want to see the architectural plans so they can determine the number of bedrooms that are going to be in there. I'm speaking, I don't know this to be.
I just wondering why they didn't get that.
Why
We
what?
submitted the architectural plans.
The DOH, not DOH, Tyler, Ontario County Soil and Water
Right, yeah.
didn't have those.
Yeah, according to their notes, which was November 15th. You know, until architectural plans are submitted, this office cannot make a determination if the existing on-site wastewater system can be utilized and cautions the town in granting any approvals until such. He references architectural plans. They go on to cite reasons why they're looking for it, but basically it's just.
Yeah, I thought Anthony and Tyler talked the other day because they called, Anthony called me and wanted the square footage, which I gave him, and number of bedrooms, which is 4.
Sure.
And so I thought that had been cleared up, but
I think they have that information, but it sounds like they don't have the plans.
Right.
They may have talked about it, but until they get the plans, they're not gonna.
Or at least Rocco and figure out what, I think you've provided everything that Rocco needs to provide and we go from there.
yeah, well, I know Rocco got it, you know, the plans, the architectural plans.
So it's the steep slopes issue, the Tyler's
Yeah.
concerns, and
ECB,
a revisit to the ECB.
But
These
what's-
seem to be what
group is that?
the Environmental Conservation Board,
Oh, okay.
yeah. When do they meet again?
December
December
1st.
First, December 1st.
So do they have everything they need?
Yeah, what do they need?
They do not have everything.
They were looking for that steep slope information too.
They were, we can give them, we'll give the minutes to the applicant.
I would.
Yeah, you already sent them out.
Yeah.
But two very, yeah, immediately. The applicant.
3:00 in the morning?
Yep. Venezia has everything that we've requested,
Okay,
meaning every, correspondence, so it's really on, yep.
Board, I need a motion to continue the,
I'll move that we continue, well.
so we're going to December
December
13th.
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 Meeting.
Okay,
I'm sorry, who was the first and second then?
That's
Scott made it.
All right,
I'll
thank
second.
Amanda
you. I
second.
apologize.
No,
Okay,
second.
have a motion and a second to continue discussion on this particular application until the 13th of December
Oh, thanks.
for the reasons
Appreciate that.
enumerated by Mr. Brevett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll adjourn. All right.
I'm not gonna last a minute.
All right, we're moving down to sketch plans today. We have a CPN 22078, DDS engineering surveying. One of you must be Garrett.
Yeah.
Okay, and representing Eastern Boulevard LLC, owner property at 4430 State Routes 5 and 20. Requesting a sketch plan review for the construction of a splash car wash, a new automatic car wash facility on 2.12 acres of vacant land at 4430 520. Same owner as the adjacent car wash, different name. Different, Express Auto Lane to provide express auto car wash. Okay, we're experts on car wash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We all.
Yeah.
So I'm Sean Condon, this is Garrett, we're project engineers for BDS, we're representing Splash Car Wash for this sketch plan review.
Sorry, you have to wait till.
Oh, that's all right. The current lot is a vacant 2.1 acre parcel, zoned in the community commercial district. It's located at 4430 Route 5 and 20. To give you a frame of reference, it's just south of the Holiday Inn Express, adjacent to the existing car wash there. The proposed improvements include a 140-foot in length car wash tunnel. It'll be about 4,800 square feet. It'll also include office space and a mat room, which is where you can go and spray down your mats in your cars. We'll have an entrance on the east side of the parcel, which there's an existing curb cut to that road, so we'll tie in right there, and it'll be one way in. Then it will go to 3 pay lanes, which will provide for about 23 stacking spaces. And then from the pay lanes, you enter in if you're a member, if you pay, if you're not a member, you pay. And then you can either go into the vacuum spots or you can go through the car wash and then into the vacuum spots. We have about 20 vacuum spots. They're all 14 by 20, as well as we have 2 employee parking spots. And then we have a new exit at the south side of the property to the same level. We intend on doing emergency access through that. We looked at it and believe you can get a fire apparatus in there and do a K-turn and get back out. If needed. So the site, it generally flows to the south and the southeast. It's pretty flat, but once we do design engineering, we'll take care of them. Stuff. We are under an acre, I think 0.75 as of right now, for the sketch plan. We intend on doing lighting improvements, which will all be per the town code, and then we'll also do some ventilation improvements as well. We will connect to public water and public sewer. There's an existing main that comes down the eastern boulevard.
If you're planning on illuminating the building, like, which seems to be the trend, make sure that you show that.
Yeah, we will show that. They'll just, I think there'll be parking lights and then there's wall packs for the building itself. But we'll be sure to show it all. Make sure it's all, yeah, all compliant. All the pavement is concrete, so it's with reinforced concrete. We'll have a dumpster and then it should be gated at the pay station. So once you go up, we'll open up and we'll do one at a time to maximize efficiency. So yeah, I'd like to open up to any comments or questions that you guys might have.
Tell us a little bit about the trending in car washes. I know at the PRC, came up about the getting away from the pressure hoses and all that kind of stuff. People just want to sit in their car and.
So they did a lot of research into how to maximize efficiency in these places. It used to be like the one on the other property where it's the laser wash, you drive in, park, does everything, you drive away. They found that they can get more volume and more people would be interested if it's a membership. And then it's also with just going through. So I think I would have to verify, but I think they can get someone from start to finish in like 6 or 7 minutes. So now it's convenient to also wash your car and you have to do a membership. So you drive up, you don't have to use any token, cash or anything. It knows your member based on your license plate and then you go there. And then you also have access to like these vacuum stanchions and they're pretty fancy vacuums essentially, and they allow you to get all the way around your car with the vacuum rather than trying to lug it over one side or the other. So there's actually, the pay station is actually not a pay station. It is if you're not a member, so there's still the option to use your code. How do you get a membership by going inside the building? That's
You probably do
ridiculous.
it right
Probably
at the
agree.
base. You
Yeah.
probably do it.
Yeah.
If you want to become a member, what
Right.
service does you want?
Probably some way to do it,
Yeah.
become a member, plus they have 2 employees at all times.
Yeah, Royal Car Wash did a huge, they would actually come out to your car.
Just some-
Or
some-
No,
program
my
is this-
my mom became a member of the one on
Remember they
332, and we'll be just going to their stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only 2 employees?
Yeah, I used
Look,
to-
you did it last
Yeah.
month. Yeah, so it's.
Only 2 employees? Cause I remember, well, it's Go Car Wash now. They sold.
Yeah,
to
2
Go,
employees.
But they have usually at least 4.
Right.
Typically 4. Got some free sprayers, somebody
So
second and then.
we don't
somebody-
have any pre-wash outside the building.
Oh, there's
It's
no-
all done
okay.
Inside the building.
Okay.
by, There's a special equipment.
Isn't that a new technology?
Yeah.
It's a
Pettit
new-
pre-wash, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's the only way, really.
Then this one's gonna be very busy then if it's. new
So,
and
so
different
just
than
for
others.
comparison to the other ones, the lasers do about 8 minutes, these do under 3. So I just know that because I've time them.
Oh, really?
I didn't say that's, okay.
Oh
I
my
think they're
God.
quicker than 8 minutes because I go through about 3 times a week. And if there's nobody there, it doesn't take me.
55 miles an hour.
Well, maybe 3. I go Royal. So I would say it's less than 8
That's
minutes.
it's about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 3 minutes.
These are
We've
3
seen-
minutes?
Yeah, the tunnels are about, they're less than 3 minutes.
3 minutes once you enter the tunnel.
Yeah.
What's the pink line?
I like to
That's
take my
lot
time
line.
going through this.
So do
I
I.
got my phone, nobody bothers me, I can't hear you, you can't hear me.
Then go through the non-tunnel, or take 8 minutes.
Your showing.
What's the, do you know
Where
the
does
intended
lot
use?
go to? It says Eastern Boulevard right there. It looks like their lot extends, the lot looks like it extends past it, so it's kind of weird where I'm thinking that this is this drive is a shared drive. We are currently getting surveyed to confirm all of like the lot lines and everything, but it appears that the drive is actually. Yeah, that's beyond.
Yeah, when this whole project came to us as a multi-phase project to the hotel.
Yeah.
They carved out these 2 sister or parent lots up here, out parcels. And then I think they had access along Eastern Boulevard by property rights, not by,
Yeah, right. We wouldn't do anything to actually try.
What's the plan for the existing car washes there now?
The existing car wash is gonna stay there, that's currently owned by Splash Car Wash. Will go on.
This is a chain.
Gets up and running and then we're gonna get that.
Yeah, what's the, will they leave them?
Chain.
I'm not
That's
sure
not
at this
for
time, but what a good idea to build one so that. What a good idea. What are you gonna do up at that, because if you tear that one down to replace it with the better version, your customers are all gonna go away because they're going a year without a car wash. This way, they can have this car wash operate, then this car wash operate, and they can tear that down and put a McDonald's. Speaking of which, what are you gonna do?
That's
up
why I
at
just asked
the
that question.
top of the
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A? No.
Just kidding.
Just above the cars, there's more area in this line, is that big enough to do something with, or is that just stormwater area?
We're just gonna use it as some landscaping.
Probably want to screen.
The hotels.
Between the hotel and the new car
It's a
wash.
big piece of land.
You talking about that?
Part of the reason of asking.
Talking about this right here, right?
Part of my motivation of asking what was gonna happen with the existing car wash is right now with that there, it gives emergency access in the event of a fire to that backside of the building. So if that changes, that would just be a concern that I would have is making sure that you have emergency vehicle access if needed on that backside where they can't pull into the front. Just as a general observation for future purposes. Because right now they can still go into that area to attack the fire from that direction. Or turn the car wash on and put it off, I guess.
Gonna say, aren't these buildings sort of self?
You'd be surprised.
Plenty of water.
There's a lot of equipment.
You gotta run out.
It's like when a fire station-
Membership card, get rid of-
How does that happen?
But it does.
But I know fire code, dude, it requires them 3 sides, which they have, so they'd be compliant. But you're right, the access in the back would be nice. I'm sure whenever this becomes an application, the fire department would be contacted. We just double check to make sure.
What's the topography in that area in between?
It's all really flat.
Super.
Flat?
Super flat.
Super flat.
The flood.
It's not a swale.
The outlet's over there and it's all floodplain.
That's the new.
That's why that lot
floodplain,
over
too.
there is used it all.
We'll have to verify the actual information on that.
The new,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
lines are there, go all the way out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're not
You
adopted
were
yet.
aware of like that, it's something we're gonna have to tackle.
Yeah.
So what's that diagonal line that goes through the existing car wash? That's actually the boundary between the city and the
Yeah, I was
town.
gonna say, that's the
Oh.
town line, it goes right through the back of
Oh,
the car wash.
Tom, can you talk about the noise? Is gonna be, how loud will it be?
Yeah,
With a
so
hotel
the-
right there?
the vacuums are muffled. And for my information, they do 38 decibels at 38 feet, which is about a regular surface conversation. Right? We can always provide that information.
The other thing is, I've noticed, I go to the other car wash now, but, I think they had to do a repair at the end of their car wash because the water was, pooling at the end of their lane. Just a thought, so that doesn't happen.
Right, so it usually is, we have trench drains offset from both ends of the building. And then the building slopes up very slightly, just because how it has to go for the conveyor belt and everything. And then we usually can collect there, plus we have a drain inside the building, and so that while it's running, and we can tie in and dump it.
So fair to say, when I come out of there, I'll be dry, basically. I'm not
That will be
hauling more water. Splashing on.
Does this design of what they're putting in there recycle the water, or is it always fresh water?
As of, we're not planning on doing a water reclamation system. So
all of that, is there any treatment to the water as it comes off of a wash?
So the water is, all the soaps and stuff are environmental friendly and biodegradable and will be collected and discharged into sanitaries.
What's the max height? You know that?
It'll be within, around 30 to around 2 feet.
I'm sorry. How, where's the max height of a vehicle?
Your trucks.
It is, I know. That's the problem right now.
You gotta go
I'm not
past
sure.
there.
They'll have a bar before the entrance.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, if it was higher than 7 feet, you might get more cars.
Unless the truck won't be able to make it through.
Why is 32 feet tall? 3 stories tall for. It's like an architectural style.
So there will be a tower
Feature, like a
feature.
little tower at the top.
How tall
Similar to
is
what
it?
they've done.
How tall is the
neighboring
property, I guess?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably similar to, they have a tower, that portion of it. It's very
It's been more than 1 hour.
Where's the Royal Car Wash? Is that on one?
It's no hard change.
But is it going to be similar to the tower that's on the existing property and next door?
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's a tower that's on, a new tower was added in the past year or two on the existing car wash.
No,
I
yeah.
think it's like the splash car
They're both
wash.
Splash car wash, so
Look, right?
they
They have this little peak
Right.
outlook
So
thing.
what is the market?
And so that's gonna take them just beyond the 2-story level.
It still fits within the criteria of that area.
will all be
Height
within the
Well,
requirements that come.
Will not be taller than the motel.
So, again, this is a sketch plan, so we're just giving, Sean, thoughts on what we see. How about the layout, the flow of the traffic,
The biggest, the pinch point, if there is going to be one, becomes on the exit. Because of the cycle time.
but there's not a lot of traffic on that road.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, the hotels on the top.
It won't queue up.
Just using this driveway.
Yes, that's the only entrance.
How wide is your parking area?
24 feet.
That's the minimum.
That's for the aisle.
Yeah.
So is that just a one-way exit?
One-way exit, one-way.
So if you're using the vacuum cleaners, you actually have to go through and pay, right, and then come in.
Oh, yeah.
So the only bottleneck would be those leaving the vacuum area, I guess, right? And coming out of the car wash.
Which you already changed. This was a different
Yeah, this is
configuration.
different, so-
I think
Yeah.
originally they had the tunnel just was straight.
It
up
went
the
straight
road.
out
And
and
then it
then,
was at the PRC meeting, I think it was.
It-
requested
it-
that it would-
yeah,
That's,
remember
That's
how the vacuums came, it was almost like it would jam up. At the exit.
no,
What's the purpose of the access after the pay station? There's then the arrow that goes into the,
So you can pay and then use the vacuums and then leave. You don't have to go through the car wash, but you have to pay to use the vacuums.
Well, that's more like an emergency
But that's also-
exit lane, so
Right,
most of the time
that's
it'll
it.
be coned off, but if someone has an emergency or they can't fit, an employee will move the cones and then there's that emergency exit.
Or the truck's too big.
You can work to try and back out.
okay.
Yeah.
You just see the sign and you ran through it and you're like, hey.
They already
Yeah.
paid.
you would have just driven just the arm.
But the two big cars. So wait, that,
But
that
most,
immediate left will be blocked? No.
Yeah, so it'll be coned off, and if someone needs to use it, an employee will remove the cones and let them have access.
So there isn't an option for.
So the business model is you go through the vacuum, you go through the, or
Car wash.
go through the car wash, and then you have the free vacuum.
And you take a left into the parking lot for that.
yeah, because most people
And
are
then
paying for
turn.
the car wash, not for the vacuum, right?
Except for Chuck, for the vacuum.
I could see Chuck.
Don't use the words free vacuum.
How long are the hoses? Do they reach the parking lot to the road?
To Chuck's house.
No. I'm sorry, I'm getting. It's a little
Let's
bit.
not be political.
I had a
I
late
just
meeting
wanna go
last night
back to
too.
the.
All right, anything else?
Site storage, is there, right now, there's obviously nothing proposed for additional buildings. That's everything needed for the facility to be stored inside of the building.
Yes.
So, plan.
I have a quick question for the board. This is from our client. They're looking into options for doing either covered parking or like covered parking stalls, with pavilions or otherwise.
Solar covers?
Maybe,
No.
so you could vacuum in the rain.
Right. I don't know. I just was asked to ask the question to get the opinions of the others before we relay that back.
I don't think there's anything prohibits it. Spend the money. Maybe you just have
Yeah.
a few of them, not all. of them.
Right.
You're just talking about maybe dedicating 5 or 6.
Would they be, I guess something we could have to consider is the snow fly off, right? We're not creating a dangerous situation for the pedestrians. So if they're all tied together and then you have 2 endpoints, or we talking about multiple endpoints along the way?
Yeah, is there?
As minor as that may be. in some-
No, that's
Monthly cost.
More pool station on your.
But then you've also got emergency vehicle access issues.
Oh,
Are those then sprinkled? I mean, I think there's a lot of question that comes into
Potentially,
that.
if it's just a canopy, fire code would allow, as long as it doesn't obstruct that distance, which that's why they probably wouldn't be doing all of them. But I thought the vacuums were out here and away from the building, so fire code would say that this becomes usable space, this would become not usable.
So it sounds like the board has site plan issues, that would need to be addressed, drainage, building code issues. Are there aesthetic issues? Would you want them screened, or do you really not see an issue there?
I'd have to see the building, what it look like.
So I think no objection in principle, subject to, if you don't
And then we'd have
have
building
building elevations. My gut thought is you're getting a little cramped on the site if you're putting another, might look like another building on. That's just me, not.
Is this, maybe you mentioned, Mary, is this like an outpost to prevent people from coming in this way? Is that anything?
They will, I think they will have a gate to prevent people from coming in directly. But it won't be, will be between kind of.
Just something to deter
That's
people
gonna be
from
one
coming.
big guy
Hey, that's
sitting in a lawn chair.
that's how I get my free vacuum.
And you mentioned MPRC signage, is this some kind of signage outside? Is this anything related to your project?
I think that's just from the aerial.
It's just existing, right?
We have a third party sign.
Working on that idea.
They submit a package of those.
I know
that temporary sign needs
Would it be a tower sign or would it be on the building?
I'm not sure. I mean, this entire area has significant signage requirements, doesn't it? We ran into it on.
Yes,
So,
on the other side, yeah.
For distances.
And the lighting, I can't stress the lighting enough. The one out on 332 looks like a circus show. I know a code enforcement officer's got
Yes.
issues with
Traffic flow there too.
Sean, we mentioned about the rights of access and agreements. If you have a copy of that access easement, that would be,
We have to look into all that stuff.
submit that with your application. Why so many parking spaces? Again, that's not all vacuums.
The ones in the middle?
Yeah, the
No,
ones in the
which
middle.
ones are vacuum? So all the ones in here are vacuum.
Oh, all of them.
These are all, these are stacked.
And the two at the end are part
Employees.
employees.
For employees.
And then these are for employees. These are all larger to allow for the vacuums.
Oh, those
These are
are-
regular parking spaces.
I apologize for sending some to them. So yeah, with the canopy, I'm sorry, just to go backwards, we would have.
Right.
We have to look at this fire code, it'd probably be better on the outside than on the inside.
That's some information.
You think you need that many
Trying to look into
vacuums?
different options.
I know, that's.
But I thought they mentioned there was an option to go inside and do something too.
Oh,
Your
good,
max.
that's-
Almost 20 days.
So
this
where
room
would you
on-
go, where's the mat room?
This room would be the mat room, this room. So you can park, use sidewalk access, and use clean off the mats.
So is there any concern of safety wise, parking and walking through those main mats?
Not more than a regular.
Parking lot.
That's a sidewalk anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen too many that have all that space used, but I'm not as familiar with the splash car wash vacuums as I am with the other ones.
Every car wash you see go up has more of those giant bow.
Yeah,
things.
they're very convenient, very
They
easy to
must be
use.
popular.
I just never seen a parking lot that's utilizing the 20 spaces at one time.
I'm still trying to figure out the cover. I'm frequent at Royal, so I've never, if it's
I
a
don't
rainy
know if
day,
I've
I
seen
don't
one
go to
yet.
the car wash,
It's
so
true.
it just,
But would you if there was a cover?
no,
No,
I
you're
wouldn't pull in the
pressuring-
car wash if it was raining unless I don't know, it's an interesting concept. I'm sure they've done
Yeah.
research, but I've
They're looking into
Could be
it.
good in
So
the summer.
never seen covered.
we'll
Uh,
relay the comments and then. go from there, you know.
Give us a landscaping plan, Sean. With location, species, size. Stormwater management, that's going to be,
It'll have to be determined based on what the acreage of disturbance is, which you referenced so far as being less than that, but without an engineered plan, we'll take a look at it.
I think so.
anything,
Just nobody.
the sidewalks up there.
Is that
Is
on
that
your,
white?
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
on your pavement at the end of the tube there, is that pavement or concrete, as you said, and then grass down?
Sorry, where's this?
Like, I'm making a hard left-hand turn out of there. There's no curbage in there, is no, out of your machine.
You're out of the tunnel.
Oh, okay.
There's no curbing in there, is there? Or is there?
That will be on the detailed engineering plans.
Okay, 'cause I'm-
We usually do curve, but.
Don't have to be
limit it
something
where
to capture the
possible.
water, right?
Yeah, because I've seen, that's an awful tight in my mind.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean,
Yeah.
there's enough radius here that might work, but I don't know. I've been out looking at. it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see someone going in the grass or what's going on. But I'm just saying, that looks tight to me.
No guy shammying.
Hold on.
It should be dry when you come out.
Now, the new ones, there's no need.
I haven't seen one yet. It's dry.
Yeah. Will you do, will you be doing votes at all? Votes?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I think that's.
There's a trailer across the street.
You know, with the trailer.
Doesn't the one at the corner of County Route 10, don't they do boats? So,
Yeah, I think so. I don't.
Automated ones?
Oh, no.
no, on
I
a
think ones
trailer.
like these, like you pull in and spray them down.
It's a
So-
huge, no, I think those are self. Things. To answer your question, no, I don't.
You made it.
That's a great idea.
Now the science of car washes are really. This will be.
Then you can fit your truck in there.
Hold the wings in and do an airplane. All righty.
Friggin' bungee
Give me enough to chew on.
Yeah, we got some good notes.
Okay, when do you think you'll be making an application?
As soon as possible. That's what our client wants, so.
Well,
Okay.
December 1st is our deadline for January.
Okay.
And
Someone's working on
actually,
Thanksgiving.
that happened to have, and then
Yeah, one
January
in December,
3rd
right?
is our
You're
deadline.
doing
Trying to get that to-
So December 1st is the deadline.
We'll give you,
For January.
Calendar. Yeah.
That's the new one, you don't have that.
Also the deadline, JRC meeting, which occurs first, and then the boards that you might.
Yeah, all right, thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, fellas. Look forward to your application.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks
Thanks.
like a good project. All right, let's double back to J&T. And I guess we'll have to do a continuation to the 13th December, what?
You just.
I remember looking at the 13th, and
You
we
too.
originally planning it to be. fairly
Yeah, we
late.
thought that was gonna be a late one.
Yeah.
It's
December 13th.
December 13th.
Need a motion?
I guess I can.
Yeah, I guess we need a motion. You can do the resolution.
I'll make that motion to continue CPN 22071 until December 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second, they weren't here tonight. Maybe was present.
Stood up. Okay, let's talk about the minutes from the November 9th meeting. A motion, please.
So move. To adopt the minutes.
Okay, motion second.
Sustain from that. I was,
Okay, I need 4 people voting. All in favor?
Aye.
Nice job, John. Speaking of John, has anything happening this week?
We've got to find his replacement. We've
You wanna reconsider?
advertised.
He's a tough man to
Well, we can't
replace.
retire until we find a
Yeah.
replacement.
You scared everybody off, John.
If we aren't looking for a replacement, we can't retire.
that's
All
it.
right, I saw a surety for Pierce Brook,
That'll
but,
be in
Yeah, that's
November.
next.
okay.
Didn't make our cutoff.
It's
Based on the
significant.
size.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so, Mark, if you want to go out and look at what's being requested at Pierce Brook, yeah, between now and December 13th.
Okay.
Other business. We've got the calendar that Shauna gave us this evening for next year. John put out the rules of procedure, distributed them in an email, so start looking at those. We'll go over the calendar. Just check it for dates, make sure we've got a couple Wednesdays in there. Is that due to elections? No. May and June.
I think the June was,
Okay.
it was like a primary or something.
Yeah.
Is May, is that a holiday?
Green.
One.
What's
Grievance,
Which one?
grievance.
Yes, grievance day is May 20. Yeah, it's grievance day. Yep. And then, yep.
Grievance. Were you off?
No, but they'll be using.
Grievance for the court.
Grievance.
Gotcha.
I thought I
Board
missed.
of Assessment Review.
I missed another one, yeah. I was like, June.
Pick that one.
Yeah, file my grievance. And also look through the rules, procedures. If you have any corrections for those, we will adopt those at our first meeting in January. Along with the calendar, so be prepared to talk about those. Verify. Nothing from the ZBA, nothing from Chris. Anybody have anything to report on the special projects they're working on? Not, anything I have is, we do have a sidewalk plan committee. And Bergman's been hired to look at, where sidewalks could potentially be, should be located. And so we'll have like a sidewalk master plan at the end of this effort, so that's good. And on the coattails of that would be a transportation plan, master plan, which Sarah has submitted a grant application to get funding to hire someone to do that. So so the wheels are rolling on both the sidewalk and the highway master plan. Okay, so anything else for the good of the board? Looking at the 13th, we now have marathon engineers for the, we're gonna see how sausage is made.
Didn't he bring in?
He did, I missed that.
Wait, I was just gonna say,
You always want to know how the sausage is made. So
no, you want to taste the sausage, tell them to bring, can you?
Yeah, I'll make sure.
how rich do
We're
you?
back to talk about
Right.
dinner at
You
the
see, the board members would not be opposed
To
to
sampling.
free samples.
Our decision will not be dependent
It will
upon.
clearly not be,
But
Spade.
I'll
It
I'll
won't
bring
hurt.
my Ninja cooker and cook the sausage.
Hey, Chuck, backing up just a second, you just mentioned Piercebrook for December 13th.
Piercebrook, yes.
What's happening?
The credit
the
release.
surety.
Credit
we thought
bank.
you might
Right.
want
They
to-
have one in, but we're not doing it
Yes.
tonight.
He's a smart ass.
He was.
Phase two already.
And then went right over
Wow.
your head. I heard it. but
All right, we also have Black Point Drive. We have diversified equipment, which is, Shauna, you want to tell us what's happening with diversified?
Oh, diversified equipment is the site on 332 next to the silo that we approved for equipment sales. They had an issue with their engineer and had to switch to Mark's Engineering. And Mark's did an analysis and there's a few amendments to the plan, so they'll be coming back for amendments.
There's equipment out there now.
Really? For sale? Or
No,
I drove by the other day. and they're-
to move dirt.
It's just
are
sitting
they
there.
moving?
No, not like
Stepping
equipment,
stones.
moved dirt, like.
It's attachments.
Like
Bobcat
equipment
attachments.
that would sell, or-
How much? How many pieces?
It was hard to tell by the road, but it was a good
Yeah,
30, 40 feet of it.
yeah. So it's probably
Interesting.
10-ish, 10 plus attachments.
Yeah.
I mean, they got an approval, they never got the plan signed, something happened to the engineer, they hired a new engineer. They reconfigured the stormwater and that's what's coming back to us.
So they'll be on the 13th as well as the J&T profits. So that's our meeting on the December. That's our only meeting. And what's the protocol in terms of going through the FTP site files, cleaning up, removing things? You don't remove them until the plans are signed?
No, we are, it's on our to-do list.
It's getting busy.
Yeah.
Just be
There's
careful
stuff
what
on
you
there
ask
that's
for,
been
because
there.
if it comes off, you
It's all-
gotta get a foil to get it again.
Right.
Board members
We
don't-
really
Planning board
technically-
members do not.
Oh, yes, they do. I was.
If it's not an active application, it has to be
They're
foiled.
entitled.
You need to
talk
talk to
about that.
Jane, don't you? Talk to Jane.
Yeah, Jane's the.
If it becomes an issue, I'm happy to have a conversation.
I got shut down. It already has become an issue. I just haven't had a chance to come down. We approved a set of plans on
Sandy Beach.
Sandy Beach. And I just said, hey, somebody asked me a question. I asked for the link. I just haven't come down to the town to get it. I was told I could come in and take a look, but otherwise I needed to submit a foil.
Oh.
I said, does everybody have to do that? And I was told that all boards have to do that. Including the town.
The town board, absolutely. If they cannot come in and look at our files.
You can't go look at a zoning board file.
I just asked for plans that I'd already seen and wanted to see what we
Close the
approved.
zoning board file.
Right,
They're entitled to see their own,
I have.
their passport.
I-
Mark, if you'd like, reach out to me and I can, you know, get into it, but
I just thought it was silly.
alternatively, you can send an email FOIL request.
Yeah, I know.
So once they come off the site, you need a foil?
That's what I was
To go
told.
back and look at that file?
I disagree with that.
Or come in the building.
I would do that.
Oh, you can come in the building.
I can come in the building and look, or you need a foil to request. That's what Gene told me.
So electronic these days, like,
It just seems silly.
Look at it.
I mean, it's-
What if we just,
John
what if we
pulls
just leave
abstracts out.
the name of the project on the
Well,
website
the
without all the
minutes.
attachments? And then it's not technically on the website, you can just be like, yeah, I need that one, and we can put it back on there for that use.
But it is,
I know,
there's
I'm-
so
I'm-
Mark,
much
is this
there.
something you could have found in the minutes of the meeting?
No, I needed to see the plans. Somebody was asking me, so what had happened is I was getting questions and concerns about the fact that they put grass over what could be a driveway going into the garage. So they built the driveway, then they put sod over top of it. I couldn't remember how we approved the site plan,
That was the close.
so I
That was
just.
this Delaney or was it
Yeah, it's
somebody else?
Delaney. And I just couldn't remember how we approved it. I'm getting asked questions about it. A couple people were complaining about water runoff and stuff like that. So it was that whole street has anyways. So all I wanted to know is what we approved. So
And it's not in the minutes.
well,
I
it
think
doesn't talk about.
If
it.
you are allowed to
it.
see them at town hall, that being said. You know,
It was available before the last time we cleaned it up. I mean, it came up tonight because we said, can we clean it up? Well, once we clean it up. It's cleaned out. It's cleaned up. So that's all.
mm,
The process just seems silly to me. I mean, it's a set of approved plans, but
And Shauna, didn't you say like a month or two ago,
so we should always.
you were
have
gonna
access to it.
move it to like a different platform or something?
We are in transition with a new permitting software,
Mhm,
cloud
right.
permit, yes. So that will take time.
Yes.
And then at that point, you will not be going to the website, you will be going to cloud permit. You will be looking at plans through the cloud, which will be great.
Less
I think.
duplication.
right?
Less duplication,
Put it
less.
here, put it there.
Yeah, and
Right.
less, I mean, we get so much material submitted to us and so many superseded plans and
All day long.
all day long. So
Of
it
course.
will eliminate, we hoping that issue that we have. Yeah. Plus, you'll be able to see all of the review, all of the referrals, comments will be, everything will be there. It's gonna be very,
Perpetual?
When is this coming?
hopefully.
Shauna, when is the cloud-based
Once it's loaded.
file
Need a foil.
coming program?
What about it?
When is it?
Well,
coming?
we're working on it right
I just thought
now,
I would
so
always give
I'm gonna
insight.
say January.
Early 20.
Yes,
Oh.
first quarter 23.
I'll put it target.
Interesting.
Okay, anybody have anything else for the good of the board?
Do we need to have a resolution to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving?
Oh, you did it on your own.
No, you need a foil.
You need foil to wrap the turkey.
Foil. Aluminum foil, with the.
Yeah,
All right.
Aye.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:23 this evening.
No. but you
I
can
will
look at
second
the
that.
colors.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chris Johnson.
Did he go first?
Aye.
Please pay me.
Aye.
No, he had.
Everyone's a little punchy
You
You guys
today.
paid somebody to pay.
We have Parks and Rec, so if you want your office.
Mark, you think